It's your commish. John David Brake here, live and remote from Charlotte, North Carolina, on assignment. Apparently, I have to check out the water at Lake Lagoon. Camp Lagoon, I should say. Anyways, welcome to another episode of Legtv-TV. Again, I'm your host, John David Brake and commish. Been traveling a lot, so I haven't been able to do this in a while. Was in Austin, Texas last week, and a lot has happened. But first, why don't we check out the scoreboards from last week as some teams are starting to rise to the top, which we will get to here in a second. Let's look at what happened with Party Like Rockstar beat Joe's Insane Ground Posse 158 to 119. A big rout there, despite losing yet another running back for the season. It seems like Ebenezer Scrooge is here. Nick now moves to 3-1, 159 to 153 over Dave McCready. And how about, my goodness, this outpour of points from David Plow, the first place David Plow, 232, thanks to TJ Hulkinson's 44-point game over the Clock Gobblers, 179. Huge win there. Here's another big win from the second place undefeated team, 191 to 177. Nick Shook over Austin. Austin now down to 1-3. And Jason Servos gets his first win of the season, beating Avi in the Purdue Bowl there, 163 to 118. And Alan Nesson now gets another win with an impressive victory over Jabel, 149 to 125. Now, this is a little different here. Hopefully this even airs if I have the right different editing software to post this, since I'll be in Florida next week. But we do have a very special guest, a very surprising elite team, it seems. And we're going to ask him who he thinks the true top elite team is. Let's welcome to the show for the first time this season, second place, 3-0, Mr. Nick Shook. All right, joining me now for the first time this season, it is the undefeated second place, which we'll talk about, Mr. Nicholas Shook, the current Hoffa winner. How are you, Shook Daddy?
Oh, man, it feels good. And just as an apology, I was supposed to have the Hoffa sitting behind me. You'll just have to settle for the Tears for Fears vinyl. Sorry.
How dare you put Hoffa and Tears for Fears in the same sentence?
Yep.
My
apologies to Kurt Smith and Roland.
That is great. You're joining us from the Shook Man Cave, where we had the draft a couple of years ago. Nick, yep. You are riding high this season. I wanted to bring you on and ask some questions here. Now we're about a fourth of the way into the season, but I wanted your analysis on some very hot topics, things that are shaking up here in the LEG. And my first question is Fields of Gold a legit LEG championship team?
Putting all personal bias aside, I think the answer to that is yes. I really do think that I have the best roster in the league right now. Now, I did, I kind of made my previews for these matchups earlier today, and just, from 8 a.m. this morning till now, there's so many more players that are either out or questionable now. So really, last year I was doomed early by injuries and by a shitty draft, which, is my MO. So, yeah, but I think if my team could stay healthy, I just think that I got too much firepower. And I'm actually glad you brought up Plow, because I'm extremely pissed off that he is somehow ahead of me right now.
He's got more points. Can you believe that?
Yeah, well, TJ Hawkinson outscored everybody in the entire league last week, it looked like. So I don't know if you can repeat that, but Iowa tight ends, man.
Yes. That was okay. So, if you did win, you would join the ranks of myself and Austin Stoll as the only Hoffa winner championship winners to both.
Prestigious group.
Prestigious indeed. And Austin, he gave you the best grade, if you recall, in the first episode. So yeah. He knows his stuff too, as the 3-time champion. Question number 2, Nick Shook. Is David Plow the best team in the LEG right now, and will he sustain and stay on top with you? Obviously, you already said you're the best, but is he going to be neck and neck with you all season?
So it's possible. I think that he's definitely not number one. Number one is me. And I'm going to keep saying it because it's true right now. And I might never have the chance to say this again. So taking my time to shine. But I was going to comment on some things when we went to the Rock Yeah Bitches Party Like a Gronk matchup, but his team's looking a little beat up right now. And, he's solid at quarterback with Burrow. He's obviously got run CMC. Tough matchup this week against the Niners. But just looking down the list here, I think that I just don't think he's got the same firepower as I do. I really don't. And did he play Abby last week? Wasn't that the
he beat Dalton last week?
Yeah, so he kind of benefited last week. No, he didn't play Abby last week.
Dahlgren put up some points too, but it's hard to beat a team when they score 232 points, the highest point total this season, higher than you from your win over me.
So yeah, I mistook. I thought that he played Abby last week, who had just a dreadful week. So I was going to comment on that, but we can talk about that later. So
yes, Abby did not have a very good week. All right, now here's the most important question for fantasy football. Will Tom Brady's ex-wife date Pete Davidson?
I hope not. I hope she has more respect for herself than that. Now, Zach Wilson, go for it. He's got a thing for the older ladies, so not Pete Davidson, man. Anybody but him.
Yeah, anybody. I agree. I get HPV just looking at him. All right. All right, Mr. Shook. Well, as you know, we do on the show, we bring on our owners and ask them the hard-hitting questions, but also
the word owner offends me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
Executive. Yeah, this isn't the NBA. Let's go. Let's do the rundown. I want to get your opinions here on some of the matchups. And as you mentioned, alluded to, I am now at 500, 2-2, taking on the number one team in the league, Dave Plow. I will totally agree. Now, he had the second pick behind you. You took Jonathan Taylor. He took Christian McCaffrey. Running backs, that's a whole nother discussion we can have another time. But given the matchups this week, given the fact that some of his players are way overperforming than what they are projected, can he keep this momentum up and win this week? Who are you taking?
So, okay, yeah. So, JD, you're coming into this matchup as a pretty heavy favorite just as of today. So I am looking for a party like a Gronk to knock Plow from the ranks of the unbeaten. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your ass. Truly believe it. Like I alluded to earlier, Plow's roster is looking a little beat up right now. McKenzie and Higgins and St. Brown are all questionable.
Yes.
And then also Christian McCaffrey is going up against the Niners, whose defense just almost literally ended Matt Stafford's career on the other night. So yeah, I think Rocky Bitches is going to take one in the chops here. Now I wouldn't be shocked if Plow's teams continues to overperform. I mean, we talked about it last week. TJ Hawkinson damn near had 50 points, which I would expect that out of Travis Kelce, but not Hawkinson. No offense. I know Iowa is like the cradle of tight ends.
University, baby.
Yeah, they've definitely screwed my team over more than once. But yeah, we'll see, man. And I did just see Hawkinson's questionable too. So I just with all those questions, I cannot pick Plow, who's already a 25-point underdog or something like that. So I'm taking you by somewhere like around 15 or 20 points.
Okay. I will also take me this week. I do like the matchups, even though I'm forced to start Chase Edmonds in the RB2 slot thanks to losing not only our 49ers starting running back, but also Cordarrelle Patterson. He's on the IR now as well. So that's the RB2 and RB3 flex for me gone. Let's move over to a very interesting matchup. Joe Murdoch is taking on Alan Nesson. Nesson is now 2-2, and Joe kind of off to a slow start. Usually does get off to a slow start, but then he always creeps into the playoffs at the end. He's also dealing with some injuries, but to the running backs, but Javonte Williams is done for the year, but he still has Leonard Fournette, Najee Harris, and Kareem Hunt. And I don't know. I kind of smell an upset this week because Nesson is heavily favored. Justin Jefferson finally went back to his old self, but the real story here is Saquon Barkley, who is the number one running back, and in my opinion, is the runaway for comeback player of the year easily. Maybe even in the MVP discussion, probably not. But with the lineups that you see before you, who are you taking this matchup and why?
I am on your side, sir. I'm also picking Allen to pull the upset. As you said, coming in
Joe to pull the upset. I said I'm smelling upset for Joe to upset Nesson.
Sorry, I do not agree with you.
Disagree.
I'm taking Nesson, and it's only two reasons. One, Saquon Barkley, like you said, the Giants were so injury riddled at the end of that Bears game that Saquon was like taking snaps at quarterback. I don't think their quarterback situation is going to get resolved in any way, shape, or form in this week. So he's going to get all the touches. I mean, he might be throwing passes. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But also, Justin Jefferson is going up against the Bears, and I hate to say this, and this might be shocking news to all of you, but the Bears suck. So when we get to mostly they suck against the run. So we'll get to that when we talk about the team Dalvin Cook's on, but they're not that good. God help us if Justin Jefferson gets one-on-one with Kyler Gordon. God help us.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Nesson here, and I got like by 10. Should be a close one.
Okay. Well, we split on that one, which that makes for more interesting watching if we disagree. Speaking of Dalvin Cook, Austin Stoll's team, the Dak Street Boys, also a very slow start for the three-time defending champ, taking on 3-1. Here comes Ebenezer Scrooge's. What a name. What a reference. Mick Martin currently sitting in third place. Now, he is also favored to win this week by 8 points, but as you mentioned, that's one of the points that I was looking at is Dalvin Cook going up against the Bears, and also Russell Wilson going up against a very beat-up, overrated Colts defense in Denver on Thursday night, and he's stacking that with Cortland Sutton, who I think Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are going to have huge games. But Mick, I guess Tom Brady, is he back now? He put up some good numbers finally last week for him, and Devontae Adams hasn't been as good as the Raiders should have been. They're playing Kansas City, so that either is going to be a blowout and there's going to be a lot of garbage time points there. I don't know, but he does have Travis Kelce, who put up Travis Kelce numbers last week.
Yep.
That being said, who are you taking this week, Mick versus Austin, and why?
So I'm taking Dak Street Boys to win this matchup. So, like you said, it's a long year. We're only 4 weeks in, but how the mighty have fallen so far. Both these teams are coming off losses to Fields of Gold, which, like I said before, I'm going to take every shot I can because this might be my only chance. And I also, in my notes, I said these both teams have both lost to the artist formerly known as Shane Falco. I do attribute the re-imaging of my entire operation to my success so far. But so I don't trust Russell Wilson at all, and that is part of the equation. But more so, like we said, Dalvin Cook is playing the Bears, who have been giving up 1,000 yards a game on the ground, which is terrible. Also, just looking at the individual matchups, I like Debo over Waddle, especially with Tua out. And looking at Mick, old touchdown Tommy, I think he's got kind of a favorable matchup against the Falcons. And like you said, he's got Kelce. But I think Tommy's going to need to score a lot of points for Mick to have a chance here. And I do think that Austin might be sweating this one out a little bit watching Monday Night Football. But for some reason, I wrote late deep ball to Juju seals the deal, and Dak Street wins this one by 10. And hopefully for Austin, he's on his way back to the glory that he's accustomed to.
I disagree with that statement, but I do agree with your pick.
I also disagree.
I don't want Austin to win again.
He said so many nice things about me. I got to reciprocate.
I know. He's too good. He can't win anymore. I'm also going to agree with you. I'm taking Austin this week simply because I also think it's going to be very close because I think all the Denver Bronco players are just going to embarrass the Indianapolis Colts on Thursday night. This team is a freaking dumpster fire. It has been in shambles for the last 4 years. The offensive line was never that good, and the defense was never that good. And now they're even banged up. They're without their best running back. They're without their best, defensive back, Julian Blackmon. They're missing some other guys too. I just think Russ is going to cook, and I think they're going to take it. But I think Melvin Gordon's going to have a huge game. But it'll be close. Yeah. I'm taking Austin as well. Now this is a close matchup too. Something to keep your eye on. Dahlgren has had a pretty nice start. Granted, he did run into the plow buzzsaw last week.
That sounds like an STD.
Right. He's favored to go over on Jason Servos, who also is kind of having a slow start. Very uncharacteristic of Servos, always in the mix. He's favored to lose to Dahlgren. There's some players. Obviously, Dahlgren's got he's got Allen, and that's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Probably going to be the MVP this year. Could put up anywhere between 35 to 40, just rolling out of bed with fantasy numbers. But that's where I stop with Dahlgren this week. I don't really like any of his other players in the matchups. And Servos is rolling with Teddy Two Gloves against the Jets. So Teddy Two Gloves and Cooper Kupp, man, that's a deadly combination. And again, you're right. He always seems like Jason always has Miles Sanders, and I expect for him to have a very good game, pairing with J.K. Dobbins, who is now back into the mix, and his flex is Alvin Kamara. If he's healthy, that's a hell of a flex. I know who I'm taking. I want to hear who you're taking this week.
You may have talked me out of my pick here, maybe a little bit, but can we just point out that in Servo's defense last week? Now, I don't know how many teams he would have beat in the league, but he starts Marcus Mariota, who doesn't score even a point. And then he starts Kamara, who is a very, probably the latest scratch in NFL history. Yeah. So he has two players basically score zero and still just smokes Avi, who, didn't really perform up to the Abilash standard. So the reason why I had picked Dahlgren is because I thought that when I wrote my preview, Mariota was still starting, and I'm not going to pick the team that has Mariota against the team that's starting Josh Allen. There's just absolutely no fucking way I'm doing that. So that throws my prediction completely out the window. Teddy Bridgewater will actually score some points. Old Two Gloves. So switching my pick, you'll reverse. Sponsored by whatever you want to. Sponsored by Heineken Light. I'm taking Servos to win this one. Let's go 10. Let's go 10. Maybe 15. Especially if his whole team's healthy. Maybe 20. We'll see.
That's respectable. Dahlgren's had some good output thanks to Josh Allen and company. But he's got Servos has a solid lineup this week. I'm also taking Servos. All right, let's go to a matchup of 10th or 12th place David Indy Snatch Pounders 1-3 versus Modelo Virus, who is also 1-3. But Jabel, his team putting up points, but he's also getting scored on a lot. So that's kind of that 1-3 record is very deceiving. That's why he's in 8th place with only one win. Jabel has definitely been the benefactor of having Lamar Jackson come back to his MVP form. He is looking amazing, and he's going against the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a huge disappointment this season. Also, CeeDee Lamb seems like him and Cooper Rush are on the same page. Is Dak going to be back this week? I don't think so. I think if Cooper Rush plays, I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a very big game. And then his running backs, I'm looking at like Mixon and Robinson. Those are all okay plays for me. Compared to like Derrick Henry and Singletary, who, could go off or just be non-existent, especially Singletary. Now, Derrick Henry obviously ran all over the Colts with no problem. But Mike Evans for McCready is back. Tom Brady and Mike Evans. Oh, thank heavens for Mike Evans, says Dave McCready. And that's an interesting play there, too, with Matt Stafford, who is not having the greatest start to the season. I'm interested to see who you're taking this week, Mr. Shook.
I got Modelo virus big in this one.
Oh.
So I want to say this with like a high level of empathy that I feel for the Snatch Pounders. 12th place is a very familiar location for them, as it is me. So I would love to sit here and rail on him, but you got to remember where you came from. I am always in the cellar. So I just don't see things improving for the Snatch Pounders. Like you said, Lamar Jackson's been on an absolute tear. Terry McLaurin hasn't exactly been lighting the world on fire this year, but he could at any moment. And in order for the Snatch Pounders to have any chance in this game, they're going to need monster games from Evans and Derrick Henry. And they might get those performances, but I still don't think it's enough to offset the rest of the roster. So I'm taking Jabel by 20. I got 20, so I'm sticking with it.
You ready for this? I
Ready.
am also taking an upset pick. I'm taking McCready this week, and here's why. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a pretty solid game. But like you said, Scary Terry, he's been missing. CeeDee Lamb, his status is up in the air as far as who the quarterback's going to be, and that's going to depend on a lot. But after that, I don't think Mixon's going to have that great a game against the Ravens. I don't like Robinson against Houston. That's going to be closer than you think. And the tight end and Gabe Davis. What happened to Gabe Davis? I thought he was supposed to be like the darling this season. He was going to be the pickup. Everyone's double teaming Stephon Diggs or trying to, and he is not producing. He had one good game, and that's it. He's completely dropped off the radar. I think McCready's running backs are going to run wild, and I think Matt Stafford's going to bounce back against the Cowboys. So that's my upset special this week. Woo! But it's going to be close.
Embrace the baby.
It's going to be close. It's going to be a close game. Now, of course, since we have you on here, Mr. Shook, let's look at your matchup. You are taking on, as we mentioned before, Abalash Reddy, 2-2 in 7th place. He's very much the underdog in this game against the 2nd place team, which makes sense. Taking on you. Your team very well. Obviously, Abby's got Justin Herbert, who looks like he's okay. He's not, got a fractured rib, or the team doctor's not trying to stab him to death. Jamar Chase, too. He really goes the way of how Joey Burrow performs. And, Baltimore, Cincinnati, it's a divisional matchup. I expect everyone to up their game that week. And Curtis Samuel's kind of questionable. Not sure what's happening there. And James Conner, not sure what's happening there in Arizona either. And Abby's running back 2 is not even the number 1 running back on the Cowboys, but a good play nonetheless with Tony Pollard. Darren Waller, well, first of all, he's got Greg Dortch in the flex. The Dortch show is done. Rondell Moore is back. DeAndre Hopkins is on his way back soon too. So it was a nice story, but Dortch is done. He's starting him in the flex. And Darren Waller is completely dropped off too after week 1. We all know your roster, right? Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown. And the big thing here is Josh Jacobs, who could be the RB2 the rest of this season. I think it's going to be Saquon and Josh Jacobs for the rest of this year. And Josh Jacobs being not a distant second, but, fairly close. And that's saying a lot. And then Jonathan Taylor's out, but guess what? You got Dameon Pierce to back him up, who is now finally given the keys to that backfield like everybody was waiting for. Olave's hit or miss, and Everett, I think the tight ends cancel each other out here, but Olave, I think, is going to do a lot better than Dortch. I'm obviously picking you this week, and I think it's going to be a blowout. What do you think?
Yeah. And the best part is, not like I've got a choice between Olave or Bateman in the flex. So, just going to try to play that. I'm just going to try to play that matchup right all year, which, I'll probably fuck up at some point. That's just, I still am the guy that was Sons of Shane Falco. Like, that person still exists. But yeah, dude, like we've been talking about, how fast things change. I mean, I'm having a renaissance this year. I went into this season, I was on the hot seat. Like I was on my seat was on fire for, 2 Hoffas in 3 years, I do believe.
Yeah.
And I was trying, like, it wasn't like I was phoning it in. So yeah, I mean, Chris Ballard and Ryan Pace are both laughing at how bad I've been. But anyways, obviously I'm majorly biased, and I think I have the best roster in this league. I'm still mad that Plow's currently above me in points. Like you said, his players have just been like randomly going off. So I had written in my preview here, the only decision I really have this week is, am I going to start Jonathan Taylor or Dameon Pierce? But that decision was made for me with Jonathan Taylor being out. And I may have to swap Cam Hayward out if he's hurt. That's really about it. As far as defense goes, I'm just going to probably be reshaping that every week, just like everybody else. But literally any other time of any decade year,
Yeah.
I'm picking Avi to wipe the floor with me. Like, typically Avi is just a powerhouse of this league. And I don't want to say I escaped Daxter boys last week, but definitely, getting the Chris Olave flex, switching him out for Bateman was huge to secure that victory. Fuck that though. I'm picking myself to win huge. I'm feeling myself big. And I think we all have to agree that something's going to have to go really wrong this week for me to lose this matchup. I think the only individual matchup Avi has over me is Waller versus Everett, but that's kind of a wash. And, I took Everett super, super late. I tried to wait out Cole Kmet, and I am so thankful that I did not get him because he sucks. Just like all the other Bears, including my boy Fields right now. They're just bad.
Yeah.
But, I think Avi's going to bounce back. I don't think he's going to score 118 again. And, I got all the respect in the world for him, but at Tuesday morning, Fields of Gold will be 5-0. Take it to the bank.
That's what I like to hear. Awesome. Well, thank you, Mr. Shook, for coming on here. Congratulations to your very, very hot start this season. Do you have anything else to say to the league other than you have the best roster? You're better than everybody.
Yeah, well, I am better than everybody, but I also realize that things can change real fast. Like, Mahomes could get his head blown off on Monday Night Football, so anything's possible. I'm gonna brag while I can, but try to stay humble, but mostly brag. So other than that, good luck to everybody's teams. And sorry, to start off the podcast, I totally butchered question 2. Sorry about that. But other than that, hope everyone has a great weekend.
Editing.
Yes. And thank you, JD, for having me on. I appreciate it. And man, for the first time ever, I'm actually glad to be on here. I don't have to talk about how much I suck.
Yeah, usually I just bring you on here just to be the butt of the joke for how bad your team is. But yeah, it looks like you're definitely the team to beat. Well, thank you for coming on, Mr. Shook. It was a pleasure. Good luck to you this week. We will hopefully chat soon and watch a game in your basement soon.
Absolutely good, my good sir. And anyone honestly can come over whenever they want. I don't care. I'm usually just down here killing brain cells.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Thank you, Mr. Shook. I appreciate it.
Yep.
And thank you, everyone. Tune in next week. No, don't tune in next week because I won't do a show because I'll be in sunny Florida enjoying my vacation. So have a wonderful week, everybody.